Is Montreal about to pull off the blockbuster trade that instantly transforms them from rebuilding hopefuls into legitimate playoff contenders? The rumors swirling around Mason McTavish and the Canadiens have reached a fever pitch, and if insider David Pagnotta is right, we could be witnessing the beginning of one of the most impactful young talent acquisitions in recent memory. Let's talk about what we're dealing with here, because this isn't just another routine trade speculation. Mason McTavish represents everything that modern NHL franchises covet. Elite young talent with proven production, physical tools that can't be taught, and the kind of two-way versatility that championship teams desperately need. At just 22 years old, the former third overall pick from the 2021 draft embodies the perfect combination of immediate impact and long-term potential. The contract situation in Anaheim has created a fascinating opportunity that Montreal appears perfectly positioned to capitalize on. McTavish remains and signed with the Ducks, and while Anaheim would obviously prefer to keep their prized prospect long-term, the reality of salary cap management and organizational priorities sometimes forces difficult decisions. That's where the Canadiens enter the picture with their impressive collection of young assets and prospect depth. According to Pagnotta, Montreal possesses exactly the kind of talent pipeline that could entice Anaheim into serious trade discussions. The Canadiens have been methodically stockpiling prospects and draft picks throughout their rebuild, creating the perfect ammunition for a blockbuster acquisition. When you're talking about trading for a player of McTavish's caliber, you need multiple high-quality pieces to make the numbers work, and Montreal has those pieces in abundance. But here's what makes this potential acquisition so absolutely compelling from a strategic standpoint. McTavish fills the exact role that Montreal has been desperately seeking throughout the entire offseason. They've been hunting for a legitimate second-line center who can immediately elevate their roster's competitive level. And McTavish checks every single box on their wish list. Think about the physical tools we're discussing here. At 6'1" and 218 pounds, McTavish brings a kind of power-forward presence that can change the entire dynamic of a hockey game. He's not just a finesse player who disappears when things get physical. This is someone who thrives in traffic, battles hard along the boards, and creates space for his teammates through sheer determination and strength. The versatility factor cannot be overstated either. McTavish has proven effective in virtually every situation. Even strength, power play, penalty kill, offensive zone faceoffs, defensive zone coverage. That kind of complete game makes him invaluable to any coaching staff, but especially to an organization like Montreal that prides itself on tactical flexibility and situational awareness. Imagine the lineup possibilities if this trade materializes. Pairing McTavish alongside Nick Suzuki would create one of the most dynamic center combinations in the entire NHL. Suzuki's playmaking ability and hockey intelligence, combined with McTavish's physical presence and finishing skills, could form the foundation of something truly special in Montreal. We're talking about a 1-2 punch down the middle that could compete with any team in the league. The psychological impact of adding someone like McTavish goes far beyond just on-ice production. Montreal's fan base has been patiently waiting through years of rebuilding, watching prospect after prospect develop, while hoping for that breakthrough moment when everything clicks into place. Landing a proven young star like McTavish would send shockwaves through the Bell Center and signal to everyone that this organization is ready to compete at the highest level. From Anaheim's perspective, the decision becomes incredibly complex. They obviously recognize McTavish's value and would prefer to build around him for the future. However, as Pagnotta emphasized, the right trade package could change everything. The Ducks are in their own rebuilding phase, and if Montreal offers a kind of prospect haul that significantly accelerates their timeline, it becomes a conversation worth having. The timing of these rumors adds another layer of intrigue to the entire situation. Training camps are approaching. Roster decisions need to be finalized, and contract negotiations become more urgent with each passing day. If McTavish and Anaheim can't reach an agreement soon, the trade speculation will only intensify, and Montreal appears perfectly positioned to capitalize on any opportunity. What makes this potential acquisition even more exciting is how it fits into Montreal's broader organizational strategy. They need depth, they need reliability, and they need players who can contribute in specific, defined roles. Kampf fits that profile perfectly. Think about what Kampf would bring to Pittsburgh. Someone who can win crucial face-offs late in games when you're trying to protect a lead. You need penalty kill specialists who can eat minutes and keep your stars fresh. Kampf does all of that, and he does it at a cap hit that's manageable even for a team operating close to the ceiling like Pittsburgh. The Penguins' window is closing. Let's be real about that. Crosby is in his late 30s, and while he's still elite, Father Time is undefeated. Pittsburgh needs to maximize every season they have left with their core intact, and adding a player like Kampf who can solidify the bottom six and contribute in key situations could be the difference between making the playoffs and missing out. Now, here's where things get a bit sticky from Toronto's perspective. According to reports, the Leafs aren't just looking to dump Kampf for nothing. They want actual value back, whether that's a mid-round draft pick or a prospect who could eventually contribute to the organization. And you know what? Good for them. Kampf has value, and they should be getting fair compensation for him. But let's be realistic about what that return is going to look like. We're probably talking about a 4th or 5th round pick, maybe a B-level prospect. This isn't a situation where Toronto is going to land a future star or a first-round pick. Kampf is a 30-year-old depth center with a $2.4 million cap hit. The market for that player is what it is, and Toronto needs to be realistic about their expectations. The timing of all this is crucial too. Training camp is wrapping up, rosters need to be finalized, and teams are making final decisions about their lineups for the upcoming season. If Toronto is going to move Kampf, it needs to happen in the next few days. The longer they wait, the more leverage they lose, because other teams will find alternative solutions or commit to their current rosters. What's particularly frustrating about this entire situation, and I'm speaking as someone who appreciates good, sound hockey fundamentals, is that Toronto is once again prioritizing cap space over roster quality. Yes, they need flexibility. Yes, they need to make moves to optimize their lineup. But Kampf is exactly the kind of player who makes a difference in the playoffs. He's the guy who wins defensive zone faceoffs in the final minute when you're up by 1. He's the guy who kills penalties when your season is on the line. He's the guy who does all the unglamorous work that doesn't show up on highlight reels, but absolutely matters when games are tight. And yet, because of salary cap constraints and roster construction decisions, he's being shopped around like he's some kind of burden. It's maddening, and it speaks to the broader challenges facing modern NHL teams trying to build championship rosters under a hard cap. Let's game out what each potential destination would mean for Kampf personally. If he goes to Columbus, he's going to a rebuilding team where expectations are low, but playing time would be plentiful. He'd be a mentor to young players, a stabilizing presence, and he'd get the ice time to showcase his skills. Not a bad situation for a player who just wants to play. Chicago represents a nostalgia play. Going back to a team where you had success, where you know the organization, where you have relationships. There's appeal in that, especially at this stage of career. The Blackhawks would give him a defined role, and he'd be part of something special in helping develop the next great Blackhawks team around Bedard. Pittsburgh is the win-now option. If Kampf cares about competing for a Stanley Cup, the Penguins give him the best chance to do that among these 3 teams. He'd be joining a roster with established stars, contributing to a team that's still trying to squeeze one more championship out of their championship core. That's an appealing proposition for any player. Here's what I'm watching for in the coming days. Which team makes the strongest push? What Toronto is willing to accept in return? And most importantly, does Kampf have any say in where he goes based on contract clauses or personal preferences? Because at the end of the day, this is a human being we're talking about, not just an asset on a balance sheet. The reality is that David Kampf's days as a Toronto Maple Leaf appear to be coming to an end. Whether he lands in Columbus, Chicago, Pittsburgh, or somewhere else entirely, the move seems inevitable at this point. Toronto needs a cap relief, and Kampf deserves to be somewhere he's valued and utilized properly. It's another example of the harsh business side of hockey, where solid, reliable players get moved not because they're bad, but because the math doesn't work. Kampf has been nothing but professional during his time in Toronto, and he deserves credit for that. Wherever he lands, that team is getting a player who will show up every night, do his job, and make everyone around him better. That's worth something, even if it doesn't always show up in the salary cap calculations. So Leafs fans, Blue Jackets fans, Blackhawks fans, Penguins fans, What do you think about a potential David Camp trade? Is he worth the $2.4 million cap hit for a team looking to add defensive depth and face-off prowess? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I genuinely want to hear different perspectives on this. And if you're enjoying these deep dives into NHL trade rumors and roster construction, show some love with a like and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content. The trade market is heating up, and we'll be here breaking down every significant move as teams finalize their rosters for the 2025 to 2026 season.